Hello. That's the timer seems to still be beeping, so let me see if we can stop that. There we go. That's the annoying timer gone. Hello everyone, Jimmy the Scottish Geek guy here. Bit of an impromptu live stream tonight. I wanted to test a couple of new bits and bobs of the gear here, so I thought let's do a what I watched in April 2024 live stream at midnight here in the UK. So most people this side of the pond will probably be sleeping. For those who aren't, thanks for tuning in. Let me quickly pop into the chat because that's one of the things that I'm wanting to test out here. See if the animated pop-up chat thing is working. And it is. Excellent. Wine Grace, how we doing? Thanks for tuning in, watching while you eat. What are you eating, my friend, at midnight on this fine Tuesday evening / Wednesday morning? But that's good to know. I wanted to make sure that that wee pop-up thing is working, and that's working quite nicely. I can see it on the wee screen here. That's pretty cool. We've got the old Yorkshire Geek tuning in. How we doing, buddy? How's Fricks? And Corey, Wilkie's Movies and Music, how are you doing? Thanks for tuning in. So, as I said, it's another impromptu live stream. I don't like to make things easy for myself. Just deciding, with a few minutes to spare to jump on a live stream. So, let's dive straight into it. Let's go through everything that I watched in April 2024. So, if we cut over to this screen here. And I'll bring myself up in a wee picture-in-picture window there. Excellent. That seems to be working. Oh no, I've pushed the wrong button here. Hang on. There we go. Fab. Right, so April 1st, 2024, we went to see Ghostbusters Frozen Empire. Why is that not loading up? Oh, there we go. And yeah, it was pretty decent. Wasn't as good as what was that one called? Afterlife. So it's a direct sequel to Afterlife, which I think everyone enjoyed. The whole family enjoyed Afterlife, especially that scene at the end, which, spoilers for anyone who's not seen Afterlife, when they have the ghost of Egon. That was a pretty emotional moment. So Afterlife was really good. Really surprised at how Afterlife was. So I was kind of looking forward to Frozen Empire. We went to see it, and it was okay. It wasn't anything special, but it did the trick. It was more or less a direct sequel to Afterlife. This time the gang have relocated to New York. They've got the old firehouse back as Ghostbusters HQ. So yeah, went to see Frozen Empire. Everyone quite enjoyed that. That then led us on to, if I can go back to the list here. So that then led us on to doing, as you can see, a bit of a Ghostbusters movie marathon, which wasn't planned, but it was the first week in April. The kids were off school, so we decided to have a Ghostbusters movie marathon. So after watching Frozen Empire, we went all the way back to the start and watched the original Ghostbusters, which is an all-time classic. I don't think anyone would deny that. Something that doesn't really stand out in your memory when watching the original Ghostbusters is, even though I think it's rated a PG or a 12, there is some questionable moments when you're watching it with young children. I'm specifically talking about the Dan Aykroyd scene when the ghost is pleasuring him, shall we say. That led to some awkward looks and a quick, changing of the subject. So that was fun. But yeah, Ghostbusters, absolute classic. Just realised it says 1984 there, so that makes that 40 years old. Yep, that would make sense because I was born in 84 as well, and I'm 41. So, wow, the original Ghostbusters is 40 years old. That makes me feel old. But, the disc looks great. I've got the first two on 4K. Oh, have I got it here to show? No, it's It's a cool steelbook. It's a pretty simplistic design. I've got the pop art steelbooks as well, but the two 4K disc set is pretty cool. So, and the disc, you know, I don't think they did like a mega high end restoration on it, but it was a good looking disc. It was a good looking 4K disc. That led us straight on to, I think, did we do it both in the same day? I think it might have been the day after Ghostbusters 1. We headed straight into Ghostbusters 2. Now, unpopular opinion, and it might be linked to, you know, the age you were when you saw these movies, but I actually prefer Ghostbusters 2 to Ghostbusters 1. I know, many people will think I'm mad for even considering to say that, but it's not that I dislike Ghostbusters 1. I remember watching Ghostbusters 2 a lot more as a kid. I remember the River of Slime. I remember Vigo the Carpathian, the museum, the pram going down the street. I saw Ghostbusters 2 a lot more as a kid than I saw Ghostbusters 1, and for some reason that stuck in my memory as a child. Like, so that was 1989. So that came out when I was 6-ish. So I definitely didn't see it in the cinema, I don't think. But so when it came out on video, it was probably a year or two later, and then it's on TV. So I'm watching Ghostbusters 2 on video on VHS probably as a 7, 8, 9-year-old a lot more than I'm watching Ghostbusters 1. So yeah, I wonder if anyone else prefers Ghostbusters 2 to Ghostbusters 1. Let's jump back in here real quick. Let's have a look at the chat. Let's see, Wine Grace, it's only 7 p.m. here. I'm eating chicken and fries, aka chips. For some reason, I thought you were in the UK. I thought you were over in Ireland for some reason, Wine Grace. Why did I think that? 7 p.m. So you're obviously in the States somewhere, North America, I would imagine. So apologies, I must be getting you confused with a different YouTuber. I thought you were over in Ireland somewhere. Old Yorkshire Geek. I suspect a lot of these I won't have seen. Probably not. I would say you've probably seen half of them, because it's more than half of them, I think, are old movies. It's not all cinema releases. Did I type that in a Yoda voice? I'm not sure I'm following what you mean there, Old Yorkshire Geek man. Oh wait, did you mean, this in a Yoda voice? I suspect a lot of these I won't have seen. Okay, yeah. I'm not going to do a Yoda impersonation because my throat is away as it is. So I'm going to have some, wait, that's the wrong side. Hang on, let me get the product placement right. Going to have some Iron Brew. Sounded like a James Doohan voice to me. Ghostbusters amazing. It is amazing, but as I said, I kind of prefer Ghostbusters 2. Probably on my own in that one. You were 17 in 1984. Wow. So you really are an old geek from Yorkshire. Well done. You didn't exist. You know, depends on how you look at it. Maybe in a previous life, you know, you were a pen. Who knows? Cancel Jimmy. Is that because I prefer Ghostbusters 2 to Ghostbusters 1? There must be someone else who likes Ghostbusters 2 a little bit more than they like Ghostbusters 1. I prefer Men in Black 2 to the first one, which is sacrilege as well. Men in Black 2, do I prefer that to... That's a close call. They're both... Men in Black 1 and Men in Black 2 are probably on a quite an even keel for me, I would say. Not sure which one I would definitely go for, but yeah. I'm going to put them as a tie, Men in Black 1 and Men in Black 2. Men in Black 3, not as great. And I still haven't actually seen Men in Black International, but something tells me I'm not really missing much by having not seen that. Iron Brew, made in Scotland from girders. Yes it is. Yes it is. Okay, back to the Ghostbusters movie marathon. So we watched Ghostbusters 2, and that led on directly to... Now, this one is a bit divisive in the Scottish Geek Guy's household. The 2016 remake with the all-female cast. I was not a fan of this one. It's not the worst movie ever made, but it's easily the worst Ghostbusters movie. And it's not for lack of trying. All of the women that are in it are funny. It's directed by Paul Feig, who I can't remember off the top of my head, but I'm sure he's directed some famous comedies. We'll just click on his name there. That's right, Bridesmaids, absolute classic. Spy is an absolute classic. Jason Statham in Spy is hilarious. Haven't seen Last Christmas. Haven't seen A Simple Favour 2, I Am David. Haven't seen whatever Unaccompanied Minors or The School for Good and Evil. The Heat was okay, I suppose. Yeah, I'm not going to go through his whole filmography, but his most famous movie, I would say, would be Bridesmaids, which is amazing. But the 2016 Ghostbusters, it's not great. Some in my household think it's hilarious. They're wrong. I don't think they're watching just now. Pretty sure they're asleep. But if they do watch the replay, I'm sure I'll catch flack for that. But yeah, the only saving grace with this movie, I think, is Chris Hemsworth. He is bloody hilarious in Ghostbusters 2016, which I think was called Answer the Call somewhere. Was it called Answer the Call over here, or was it in the States? I'm sure I remember it having like the subtitle Answer the Call for some reason. I don't quite know why. I've just realised I've left that comment on from Yorkshire Geek. Just a little bit of Iron Brew plug in there. So if we pop that off. Yeah, Ghostbusters 2016, not a huge fan of it. Chris Hemsworth is hilarious in it, but it's annoying because how does someone get to be like that good looking, that rich and famous, but also be funny? And watching the interviews and the behind the scenes, everyone talks about how he was such a nice guy, and it's just like, no, you don't get to be that handsome and, you know, that talented and also that funny and be a nice guy. That's just not fair. So, you know, like leave something for the rest of us, Mr. Hemsworth. Thank you. So yeah, we watched that Ghostbusters. Not a huge fan. That led us on to, given that we had already watched Frozen Empire at the start of the movie marathon and then went back to the start, that led us to watch Afterlife, which was a huge surprise when we saw that in the cinema. Like I said at the, I think earlier on, the scene at the end when, again, spoilers, Egon, ghost of Egon, comes back and helps his granddaughter with the proton pack. Like, there's honestly not a dry eye in the house, in our house anyway. Very emotional, that scene at the end. I think, yeah, my letterbox review just literally says, I mean, that scene at the end. Because, yeah, that scene at the end is just, like, beautiful. Really good movie. Kind of pays the right amount of respect to the originals. It does its own thing as well. It's maybe a little slow at times, but just ever so slightly. Yeah, huge fan of Ghostbusters Afterlife. Let's quickly jump back into the comments, see what the chat is. Let's see. Yorkshire Geek, never been an MIB fan, to be honest. They're okay, but I don't go out of my way to watch them. I remember watching the first one in the cinema. I'm sure it was like 98, I think. Maybe 99. Second and third one, I'm sure I saw them in the cinema as well. But I think like that was when the first one came out, it was very much, it's Will Smith, like clearly on his meteoric rise to fame. Like Bad Boys had already came out a few years prior. Then he had Independence Day, and then Men in Black. I think it's the 1-2 punch of Independence Day and Men in Black that really solidified Will Smith as like A-list movie star. Bad Boys helped to a certain extent at the beginning. Like Bad Boys sold him as a potential action star. But then Independence Day and Men in Black. Maybe Men in Black was a little bit sooner because I'm sure Independence Day was like 1994 or something. Anyway, yeah, that definitely solidified Will Smith as an A-list movie star 20-something years ago. 30-something years ago? Anyway, long time ago. he's had his ups and downs since then, shall we say. Moving on. Yorkshire Geek, when I first watched Ghostbusters 2016, I didn't mind it, but on a rewatch, I was turned off after a short while. Yeah, man, I mean, it's not a terrible movie. It's just not good. I just don't think it's a great movie. I'm not sure what the general consensus on it is. Like I said, the other half of Scottish Geek Guy thinks it's a really good movie. I really don't. And, time will tell if this person watches the replay on this and I get into trouble for that. But yeah, it's not a good movie. Speaking of Men in Black and Ghostbusters, let's not forget Evolution. Yes, Evolution is a good movie. That's the David Duchovny one, isn't it? I remember that. That was that kind of. I think it's became almost a bit of a cult movie, like a cult fan favourite. And did they just announce a recent steelbook of that? I think maybe they did. Hang on, I'm going to do a quick Google of that while we wait. Let me just show you guys here because I'm wanting to know if they are. Right, so, Evolution 4K release. Nope. I thought they had announced a recent release of that. Oh well. Maybe not. Anyway, yep. Speaking of Ghostbusters and Men in Black, let's not forget Evolution. That's a worthy addition to that genre of movies, I would say. Hang on, I'm going to cough. Let's see. Did you see that? Finally, that's great to have you on a live stream, mate. It's I know we keep missing each other quite a lot on these streams. Thanks very much for tuning in. Cheers to you as well. Any of you guys who haven't checked out Did You See That's channel, it's very cool. I like to think of him as the guy to watch all of the crap movies and review them so that you don't have to. He's got a whole series of videos on his channel about them, and they're always a fun watch. So be sure and check him out. How are you doing? I'm doing good. Again, thanks very much for tuning in. This was a last minute live stream. I wanted to test a few wee bits and bobs of live streaming stuff. The main one being the animated comment here, as you can see it popping up and down. I wanted to make sure that was working right, and it's working right. So, the only way to test stuff for live streams is to do a live stream. So that was one of the reasons for tonight's last minute unplanned live stream. Also, I hadn't done my everything I watched in April stream. So, two birds, one stone. And Yorkshire Geek is saying Evolution is a cracking film. Yep, that's pretty good. Do you know, I've not seen that in a while. I'm going to double check it. And if it's relatively child friendly, which I think it is, I'm sure it's like a 12, then I might force the kids to watch that. They always love it when I force them to watch an old movie. I'm like, you'll love it. Just sit down, shut up and watch a movie. You'll love it. 9 times out of 10, they don't. But there is the odd time when they'll watch an old movie under protest and they absolutely love it. A prime example being Back to the Future. Not to get sidetracked, but Back to the Future is, by all accounts, an old movie. If you're a 7-year-old, a 10-year-old, or 13-year-old and your parents are like, we're going to show you this movie called Back to the Future. It came out in the 80s. It's about time travel. It's about a flying car. And then you show them the trailer, and obviously the effects, even though they were good at the time, don't quite hold up to today's standards, to today's youth. So yeah, we forced the kids to watch Back to the Future, and they absolutely loved it. But that's usually the exception. That's the 1 in 10 that they do like. Normally, when we force them to watch movies that we loved as kids, they don't like them. But Back to the Future, they loved that one. Let's see what else. Your live streams always look impeccable. That animation comment pop up is sick. Thanks very much, dude. That's much appreciated. I get most of my tips and tricks for live streams from a chap called Aaron Parecki, whose channel I will put in the comments in the description after this. He does live stream and video work professionally. He's got a great YouTube channel with hints and tips on what to do for live streams. It's a bit tech heavy, so there is a bit of kind of like filming and live streaming knowledge required almost. But yeah, his channel is great, and that's where the wee pop-up effect thing came from. Is that Mean Girls in the background worth picking up? Well, I would say yes, it is. I've done an unboxing of these 3 movies. You guys are getting a... Hang on, let me bring me up in a picture-in-picture. Yeah, so I've done an unboxing of these 3 steelbooks. This is my recent pickups this month, or in the past week or two. I haven't posted the unboxings of them yet. I've still to shoot 1 or 2 wee bits of like the close-ups of them, but I did the general literal unboxing of them. Yeah, so the Mean Girls one specifically, it's a reproduction of the Blu-ray steelbook that has already been released. Now, I don't know if it was released in the UK, but it was definitely released in the States. So the Mean Girls steelbook, it's got a 4K disc in it and a Blu-ray disc in it, but the steelbook is the exact same steelbook that's already been released. So obviously if you already have it, it's not worth picking up because it's literally the exact same steelbook, just with a 4K disc. Like I said, I think maybe in the UK the Blu-ray one hadn't been released, so it's a first release for the UK, but that steelbook over there, no, other side, there it is, that steelbook there was released in the States about a year or 2 ago, or maybe even longer, but only with a Blu-ray disc. Yeah, so if you like the movie and you don't already have a copy, it's absolutely worth picking up. I was kind of hoping they would release the new one, the 2024 movie of the musical of the movie, as a steelbook, because quite enjoyed that. But as far as I know, there hasn't been a steelbook release of that, just a general 4K disc. Why I asked, because I hadn't seen an unboxing from you yet, so I was curious. Yeah, I shot I shot those 3. What number is that? 8. I shot those 3 steelbook unboxings yesterday or the day before, so they'll be going up probably 1 a day for the rest of the week-ish. I wanted to get I'd recorded a few reviews that I wanted to get up and out. I did a review of Rebel Moon Part 2, which just went up yesterday. I wanted to get that done and out because the movie had been out last Friday, and I think everyone under the sun has already, talked about how crap it is, and sadly they are right. It's not a great movie. I think I gave it 4 out of 10 in my review. So yeah, I wanted to get the Rebel Moon Part 2, The Scargiver. Wanted to get that review done before I did these steelbooks. Intrigued if the 4K transfer is any good. You mean on Mean Girls? I don't know. I've not watched it yet, mate. I maybe start looking into doing side-by-side comparisons and 4K comparisons, but it's not something I want to get like too delved into, like technically wise. Like if it looks good, it looks good, and if it doesn't look good, it doesn't look good. I don't want to like start comparing like bit rates and encoding codecs and like HDR, DNR, all of that stuff. As much as I know what all of those things are, that's kind of partly linked to my day job. I don't want that to kind of bleed in too much to the fun side of YouTube. Like I don't want the videos to be like, here's a zoomed in close up picture of, the 4K disc compared to the Blu-ray disc. I say that, I might end up doing that for certain videos. Like I've been tempted to do that for the Aliens 4K release, just because that seems to be splitting people right down the middle. As to whether that's a good transfer or not. Like I've got multiple copies of Aliens already, and I did pick up the let me come back here. Did pick up the 4K disc, so I might do that for that. But yeah, maybe we'll see. Anyway, those unboxings for these, they'll be up on the channel within a few days ish, hopefully. Right, let's pop back over to, where is it gone? That's the countdown timer. Yeah, so let's pop back over to the watch list. So we watched Afterlife, and that kind of brought to a close the Ghostbusters movie marathon, starting with Frozen Empire and then going back to the start. Then we watched Big Trouble in Little China. I as I explained earlier on, that was one of those movies where I'm going to make the kids watch it because it's a classic from when I was a kid. And as I've said on my letterboxd here, it's a stone cold classic. Enough said. And someone liked it. There you go. So yeah, I think we watched this. We were this was in the first week in April. We were on holiday down in like a little caravan holiday with the family. It was one of those rainy days, or maybe rainy evenings. So we'd been out that day. We'd been down to the pier and walked along the beach and wrapped up really warm because it was raining, obviously, because it always is. So I chose Big Trouble in Little China for us to watch. I think most of the kids had either went to bed or had fallen asleep not too long after it started, but I was determined to sit through and watch it because it's just a brilliant movie. Like, it's one of those movies, I think on a different live stream, I talked about, someone asked, what movies would you love to get, like the 4K treatment, the 4K restoration treatment, and this was one of them. I would love to see like a proper 4K restoration of Big Trouble in Little China. I've got it on DVD. I think I might have 2 copies on DVD. I did have the VHS when I collected VHSs, but they're long gone. And I've got 1 or 2 Blu-rays. I think I've got the two or three different steelbooks of it, actually. But yeah, I would love to see a proper 4K release of Big Trouble in Little China. Is it my favourite John Carpenter film? I mean, it might be. It's just, like I said, it's an absolute classic. To this day, like 40, almost 40 years later of it coming out, like, it's still a movie that I'll quote. I never drive faster than I can see, and besides that, it's all in reflexes, much to the chagrin of my whole family. I'll still say that, and it's a classic. It's an absolute classic. Much like Yorkshire Geek is saying, "Have you paid your dues, Jack?" "Yes, sir, the check is in the mail." That's just one of like 20 classic one-liners from Big Trouble in Little China. And if you haven't treated yourself to this yet, the commentary track that's on the Big Trouble in Little China disc, the commentary track with Kurt Russell and John Carpenter, is absolutely hilarious. It's very clear that these two guys are really good friends, and they've been good friends for 30, 40, 50, 60 years, because they're both like 70 plus, I would imagine, by now. At least John Carpenter probably is. Kurt Russell is at least in his 60s, if not in his 70s. But they just talk about, the movie. They have a laugh with each other. It's one of those commentary tracks where they don't go too much into detail about like the ins and outs of making the movie. It's just two friends watching a movie they made together, 20, 30 years ago, and having a laugh. So if you've got a copy of Big Trouble in Little China and it has the commentary track on it, and you're a fan of the movie, you should absolutely watch it with the commentary. It's really good. It's really good. Okay. Oh, wait, hang on. We went all black. Something happened. Oh, no. There we go. Sorry, folks. I'm not sure what happened there. Yeah. Big Trouble in Little China. Absolute classic. So, what's next on the watch list for April? So I've put this in here because I wanted to remember to talk about it. Didn't watch the Disney Plus one. I actually saw it live in Edinburgh, just logging it because, the Disney Plus version is obviously what's on the movie. Let me go here and put me back on there. There, fab. Yeah, big Hamilton fan. I think hadn't seen the stage show before I saw the Disney Plus version. I think that came out during lockdown or something. I remember there being like a big hoopla about it coming out on Disney Plus, I think during or just after one of the lockdowns in 2020 that happened. And I remember watching it on Disney Plus and absolutely loving it. I had no prior knowledge about Hamilton other than one of the people on the Empire Film Podcast, Helen O'Hara. I think she'd mentioned it a good few times over the years that she was lucky enough to see the original cast on Broadway and talked about how amazing it was. But like on paper, it shouldn't be amazing because it's a hip hop musical about like one of the less famous founding fathers of America. So you think, well, that doesn't sound fun at all. But it is. It's ridiculously fun. Like, it's so much fun. It's like, I'm not a huge musical fan, but I'm not like a musical hater. I've been to see, you know, a good few musicals over the years, and some of them are good, some of them are not good. But Hamilton is really good. So saw it on Disney Plus back in 2020, I think, when it first was released on Disney Plus. Saw it live for the first time in London 2 years ago, maybe a year ago, and something that really stood out to me was how different the experience can be with different actors in iconic roles. And this is nothing against Lin-Manuel Miranda, but the guy who played Alexander Hamilton on the London stage show was actually better than in that role than Lin-Manuel Miranda was. Not that he was bad, but I just thought the guy who played him in London was even better. Likewise, the guy that played the King, that's a really difficult role to make your mark on. And the guy in London did a good job, slightly different job, but a good job. So fast forward to last month, and saw it again, but this time with the touring cast in Edinburgh. Again, different actors in the roles, gives it a slightly different experience. Some of them were good, some of them not so good. I can't really comment on that. That's, like I said, musical theatre isn't, you know, it's not like I'm on the stage doing singing and dancing. But I think it's safe to say the touring cast gives a slightly different performance than the London cast, which is a different performance than the original Broadway cast. Regardless of where you see it, it's brilliant. Very, very good. Very, very good. And what have we got here? Let's see. Wine Grace. I saw it live and was surprised how much I liked it. I haven't watched the Disney Plus version. Ooh, that's interesting. So you saw it live, but you didn't see the Disney Plus version first. I'd love to know what you think if you watch the Disney Plus version and then kind of like compare it to the live version that you saw. Did you see it in London? Did you see it with a touring cast? Were you lucky enough to see the original Broadway cast? Let me know where and when did you watch Hamilton? Because it would be interesting to see what you think if and when you ever do watch the Disney Plus version. So yeah, let's go back to the watch list. And after Hamilton, so 2/5 of the household here are big shark movie fans. I randomly saw the trailer for this one, No Way Up, on YouTube, as you do, and thought, that looks like an interesting take on the shark movie. That's worth a shot, surely. So there isn't really anyone famous in it other than Colm Meaney, who's the guy from Star Trek TNG and Con Air, you know, a few other movies, like, as you can see there. Oh yeah, he plays the dad in Get Him to the Greek. He's good in that. Is he in Die Hard 2? Oh yeah, he's one of the airplane pilots in Die Hard 2. Anyway, so he's the only kind of recognisable face, at least the only face that I recognised in this. So, No Way Up, try to think. Quick plot synopsis. Yeah, so, it tells you there. Characters from different backgrounds are thrown together when the plane they're travelling on crashes into the Pacific Ocean. A nightmare fight for survival ensues with the air supply running out and dangers creeping in from all sides. So this isn't a spoiler because it's in the trailer, but basically there's a plane crash. The plane crashes on the Pacific, drops to the bottom of the Pacific. Well, not the bottom, but like there's like a cliff or something. So it's not super deep, but there's like an air pocket that they can survive in, but obviously they've got limited air. But when you know it, that's not the only problem they've got because there's a bunch of sharks swimming around as well. So not only has the plane crashed in the ocean, but they have to deal with sharks as well. It's actually pretty good. Did I type a review for anything? I typed a quick review. Better than it looks, solid shark movie. Yeah, that's probably as good as I can say about that. It's better than it looks. It's a solid shark movie. Old Yorkshire Geek, what have we got here? Sick of these MF. It's better than Snakes on a Plane. I'll give it that. You know, I'll say that. Obviously, Snakes on a Plane is iconic for all the wrong reasons. And it's a Sam Jackson movie, so it gets a certain amount of points for that. But No Way Up is actually, I would say, other than kind of the low budgetness of it, which does stand out sometimes, it's, like I say, like it says there, it's a solid shark movie. I think 3 out of 10 / 6 out of 5. That's what I would give it. Yeah, it's a solid shark movie. If you like shark movies, it's one worth checking out. Right, let's see. Go back to the list. What did we watch next after No Way Up? I've got Civil War down twice. I don't know why. That must have just been a glitch in the in me logging it. Yeah, I actually quite enjoyed this one. I did a full review on my channel. So it's Alex Garland's Civil War, caught on the heels of his divisive Men, which I've not seen, but most people have said it's rubbish. So I'm not in a desperate. I'm not desperate to watch it. But all of his movies that I have seen. Hang on, let me take a wee drink. All of Alex Garland movies that I have seen has been pretty good. Civil War, yep, I really enjoyed that. I think it's been received differently in the States than it has, internationally. The biggest complaint I hear people talking about in the States is that it's just completely unrealistic. Texas and California would never combine forces because they're completely opposing states in their ideologies. I think that was the point. Like, again, not being in America and not living the politics of America, but I thought that was the point. That, things have gotten so bad. President Ron Swanson, Nick Offerman, like, he's so bad that California and Texas, even though they don't like each other, they've banded together because he's doing such a bad job and, dropping bombs on American citizens. So even though California and Texas are, have opposing ideologies, they teamed up as the Western Alliance, I think they're called in the movie, to fight against President Nick Offerman and his, regime. I think as I said, a lot of the criticism in America was that was completely unrealistic, that those two states would never, be friends, would never join forces. I thought that was the point. Again, I think if you're not from America, if you don't live in America, you're going to come to this movie and experience this movie in a fundamentally different way. That's not to say Americans didn't get it. I just think if you live in America, you're going to experience this movie in a different way than if you live out with America. But I really enjoyed it. I really loved the way it was shot. Like, you're looking through the lens of the photographers, like metaphorically and literally. Like, the sound design of it, it was really good. My only not my only, but like my main criticism of Civil War is actually a criticism of the trailer. The trailer kind of sold it as a Civil War movie, as a kind of gritty, all these modern civil wars that you see happening in far-flung countries, this can happen on your doorstep. It sold it as a kind of, not an action movie, but I think the trailer sold it as a war movie, when in reality, it's a much more reserved and introspective road movie with a little bit of war peppered throughout it. Civil War isn't a war movie. It's a road movie that takes place during a civil war. So that's my main criticism, and that's a criticism of the trailer more than anything else, of the marketing department. They sold a different movie than the movie is. I still enjoyed the movie, but felt a little bit, bait and switched. Baited and switched. Anyway, they they did that bait and switch thing with the trailer, I felt. But yeah, really enjoyed it. There's a full review on my channel, which I'll put in the description below as well. Right, let's jump back into the chat. Let's see, Wayne Grace. I remember the trailer, but didn't know it came out. Saw a touring cast for Hamilton right before COVID, I think. Wow, in 2019. That's interesting. You're from the future and you saw Hamilton? That's how popular the show is, guys. 100 years later, and it's still going strong. Hamilton in 2029. Sorry, 2919. I'm assuming you mean 2019, just before COVID. That's probably the London cast you saw then, I would imagine. Was it in London? Was it on the West End that you saw it? Yeah, I'm assuming. Anyway, it's a great show. It's an absolute great show. Yes, 2919. Definitely. Stevie Dan, how we doing? Thanks very much for tuning in, bud. Saw SG. Oh no, wait. Oh no, wait, I'm SGG. Hi. Saw Civil War in IMAX. So real, so loud, and loved it. Yeah, man, I saw it in IMAX as well. Here in Glasgow, there's an IMAX laser at Cineworld Silverburn, which I think they promote as Scotland's only laser IMAX screen, and it's a fantastic screen. It's a big IMAX screen, but I think it's a dual 4K laser projectors. Anyway, it's bright, it's crisp, it's huge. The sound system is amazing, and that was a good movie to see in IMAX. Really enjoyed it in IMAX as well. Shout out to Silverburn Cineworld, specifically for their IMAX screen. 2919, I forgot which linear plane I was currently in. Just more evidence that you're an omnipotent mega being. See that I was very careful with the pronunciation of omnipotent, because I don't want to throw accusations about other words. You stay 10 minutes from... I didn't know you were that close. I stay about 15 minutes from Silverburn. That's probably the same IMAX that we saw in then, so that's pretty cool. Do you know what? I was looking at the Danny Boyle films that are out this month, and I think Tuesdays are, or is it Mondays? Like Mondays and Tuesdays are difficult days for me to get to the cinema, which is annoying because that's when Cineworld tend to have their unlimited screenings, like their secret screenings of movies that aren't out yet. And I'm an unlimited member, have been for a very long time. I can rarely get to see those secret screenings because, like I said, they're usually on a Monday or a Tuesday, and those are difficult days for me to go to the cinema. The Danny Boyle ones, I was looking at them thinking, Shallow Grave, like I'd love to see that in the cinema. I absolutely love that movie, and I think it's celebrating its 30th anniversary. I remember watching that on video when it first came out, because like there was a big thing here in Scotland because it was shot in Scotland. I think it was mainly shot in Edinburgh, but I think some of it was shot in Glasgow. Huge Danny Boyle fan, and really love Shallow Grave. Would love to see that in the cinema. Another one of his films that I'd love to see in the cinema, but I don't think it's part of the Danny Boyle season that they're having at the cinema, would be 127 Hours. One of the kids was randomly talking about something, and we got onto the subject of 127 Hours, and their eyes just like lit up to the point where I'm like, would it be okay to show a 13-year-old 127 Hours? And, maybe you can let me know in the comments if you think 127 Hours is appropriate for a 13-year-old. Bear in mind, this 13-year-old, her favourite movie is Scream. So I think she'll be fine with 127 Hours. But yeah, when I started telling her the story of 127 Hours, just like I said, her eyes just, were like saucers. She was like zoned in and glued in on that story. So I would have loved to have taken her to see that in the cinema, but that's probably not going to happen. Let's see, let's jump back into the chat. Wow. Yeah, Shallow Grave on Tuesday. I'd love to see it, but Tuesdays are difficult days. Sunshine and Shallow Grave. Yeah, Sunshine's a bit... I think I was a bit harsh on Sunshine when it was released. I do remember thinking the first time I saw Sunshine, all I was thinking was, it's just like Event Horizon, but not as good. After seeing it once or twice since, that's probably not a fair criticism or a fair comparison. At the time, when I first saw it, I was definitely thinking, that's just like Event Horizon, and Event Horizon is a brilliant movie. Easily the best Paul W.S. Anderson movie. Event Horizon is a brilliant movie. I got the recent 4K Steelbook, and I wish they were able to find the missing footage of like the crazy hell sequence that it's it's been talked about so much that it's legendary because no one can find a copy of it, no one can find it. It doesn't, but for all intents and purposes, it doesn't exist. But I hold out hope that one day somebody somewhere will find like a film canister or even like a work print on a VHS of the crazy sadistic hell sequence from Event Horizon. Why am I talking about Event Horizon? Yes, Sunshine. So Sunshine and Shallow Grave, both are great movies, yeah. Absolutely, they are indeed. Sunshine starts off great, but devolves into a typical slasher flick. Shallow Grave is good. I can see that. I could kind of see that criticism. I think Danny Boyle and his style and his sensibilities elevates it above a typical slasher flick. But again, I keep coming back to Event Horizon. If you give me a choice of watching Sunshine or Event Horizon, I'm going to choose Event Horizon every single time. The score to Sunshine, however, is brilliant. That it's like not recomposed, like a rearranged version of a classical tune, I think, like an adagio for strings or something like that. Anyway, the score for Sunshine, specifically the main cue, is phenomenal. That's been on my movie scores playlist like since the day it came out, I think. But yeah, not that anyone asked, but if I'm choosing between Sunshine and Event Horizon, it's going to be Event Horizon. Yeah, every time it's going to be Event Horizon. Right, let's jump back in here. So after Civil War, apparently I saw that twice, but I didn't. I don't know why it's been logged twice. I must have just been like drunk, even though I don't drink. Scoop, yes, let's chat about Scoop. So this was an interesting one. This is the kind of the true story of the Prince Andrew interview that happened on Newsnight, I think. The Prince Andrew, Jeffrey Epstein scandal thing. Interestingly, the real life story of this, the real life events of this completely passed me by. The Prince Andrew interview, never saw it on TV when it happened. I barely remember reading or kind of like hearing anything about it. Likewise with the Epstein stuff, it kind of largely passed me by for some reason. Just must have been a time when I wasn't really keeping up with current events. And then again on the Empire Film Podcast, they were talking about Scoop and they were quite complimentary about it. It was more the interview with Rufus Sewell that they had that kind of intrigued me to watch it, because he talked about obviously the true story and he talked about the makeup process and whatnot. So I watched the trailer and then you see Rufus Sewell in the bodysuit and the makeup and he's doing the voice and you think, wow, that's you barely recognise that's Rufus Sewell. Sewell? Anyway, the main actor. So watch the trailer. Gillian Anderson is in it as well. She plays the interviewer lady whose name escapes me. Billy Piper is in it as well. It's pretty decent. It kind of felt like, again, having not been too cognizant of the real life events, I was kind of watching it without really knowing what was going to happen because I didn't really know the true story. Let's see, what did I say on Letterboxd? Decent enough, felt a bit stretched. Didn't actually see the real life interview and didn't follow much of the Epstein story. Good movie overall. Yeah, I think this is a prime example of a movie that streaming is kind of designed for. Like, I mean, I don't pretend to know the full ins and outs of movie budgets and movie marketing and costs and whatnot, but I can't see this movie getting a big cinema release, but a decent release on Netflix. That seems to be an appropriate home for a movie like this. And yeah, quite enjoyed it. Decent enough. 3.5 out of 5. So 7 out of 10. Yeah. Scoop on Netflix. Pretty decent. Let's see. After Scoop. Oh my God. Yeah. So, I mentioned earlier on, I don't know if Daz is still watching, if Did You See That is still on, but on his channel he does reviews of a lot of bad movies so that we don't have to watch them. He'll watch them and tell us how bad they are. I watched this movie and I'm going to tell you how bad it is so that you don't need to watch it. So, The Walking Deceased. Let me go back to me. Hang on, let me see. And we're going to go on that. That's the wrong one. So if I go to here and go to one, yeah, there we go. So we'll just go black. Yeah, there we go. Random ones. Let me get rid of that. We'll just go black. Sorry, we'll put the steelbooks on. Yeah, so The Walking Deceased. Oh man, it's bad. It's pretty bad. It's made, well, I don't know if it's the same creative team, but it's basically the spoof version of The Walking Dead. I don't know if it's any of the same creative team. The lead guy in it, who plays like the spoof version of Rick Grimes from The Walking Dead, he's the same actor that played Deputy Dewey or Deputy Doofus in the Scary movies. Was he in any more than one? He was definitely in at least one. Anyway, he plays the spoof version of Rick Grimes. It's bad. It's so bad. It's kind of, it mainly spoofs, ironically, even though it's called The Walking Deceased, and the main guy is like clearly a Rick Grimes spoof, it's more of a spoof of, what's the Jesse Eisenberg, Woody Harrelson one? Zombieland. It's more of a spoof of Zombieland than it is of The Walking Dead, but that doesn't make it good. This is a bad movie. Most of these spoof movies tend to be pretty crap. It's not, there's some that peek through and are pretty good, like the original Scary Movie, and I think the second one is good. And then there's the Scary Movie franchise after the second one has varying degrees of goodness. But yeah, The Walking Deceased, it's on Amazon Prime. If you're looking for a crap movie, that's a crap movie. Enjoy. But don't waste your time. It's pish. Okay, let's bring that off and come back to me here. Let's see what's next on this. What did we watch next? Ah, yes, so after that, we watched, that's the wrong side, let me put me over here, Die Hard with a Vengeance. I say we watched it. I came home from work one day and the 13-year-old, it was her turn to choose a movie. And they had just about, I missed it, I think I missed the first like 10 seconds. But she wanted to watch Die Hard with a Vengeance. I was like, yes, I'm okay with that. That's a good movie. So sat through and watched it from start to finish. As we're watching it, because I've seen it dozens of times, I decided to have a quick look at the IMDb trivia. Or was it the IMDb? Anyway, I was kind of like looking up random information on Die Hard with a Vengeance. Apparently, they offered the role of Zeus to Lawrence Fishburne, and he turned it down. He didn't want to do that because it wasn't a lead enough role. Apparently, the studio didn't know what to do. They didn't know who to cast in that role. Pulp Fiction had literally just played at Cannes as all this is happening. Pulp Fiction, obviously, great movie. Sam Jackson, great performance in that. But prior to Pulp Fiction, he's not had any leading roles. Like, he was Mr. Arnold in Jurassic Park. He had a tiny role in Coming to America. He was like the shotgun robber guy. He had a tiny role in True Romance. Like, again, these are like tiny little scenes. I'm sure he was in other movies as well, but Pulp Fiction was obviously his breakout role. So Pulp Fiction comes out at Cannes to rave reviews, and Sam Jackson gets rave reviews as well. This happens at the same time that Lawrence Fishburne is turning down Die Hard with a Vengeance. And so they offer Sam Jackson the same deal that they offered Lawrence Fishburne. And Sam Jackson signs on, and the rest is history. Sam Jackson plays Zeus in Die Hard with a Vengeance. So, yeah, there you go. Now again, this is all, on random trivia pages on the internet, so who knows how true that is. But I thought that was quite interesting. If I was to do a Die Hard ranking, let's see. The first one is obviously the best. The fifth one is obviously the worst. What would the middle look like? So, hang on, let's have a think. Die Hard ranking. Die Hard 1, Die Hard with a Vengeance, Die Hard 2, Live Free or Die Hard / Die Hard 4.0, depending on, you know, which country you're in. And then dead last would be A Good Day to Die Hard, which is a shame that the franchise ends on such a low. It's a cool title, A Good Day to Die Hard. I mean, that's better than Die Hard 5, I'll give it that. But yeah, not the best movie. Let's quickly jump into the comments. Here we go. Stevie Dan, good enough for Netflix. What are we chatting about there? Oh yeah, so it's good. Yeah, good enough for Netflix, very much so. Yorkshire Geek, the first 2 scary movies were raunchy, and after that they became like the airplane films, which is not a bad thing. I howled with laughter at the police lady's hat getting bigger. Yeah, that is one of the funny parts. Scary movie franchise. The first 2 I've got a lot of time for, and then after that, varying degrees of success, I would say. Spookily, I paraphrased the "As I went to St Ives" riddle today in my gaming stream. Ah, interesting. Let's give Yorkshire Geek a plug for his gaming streams as well. Check out his channels. I think he goes on at random times as well, much like myself, so that's always interesting. And I enjoyed all the Die Hards for what they were. Even the 5th one, really? A Good Day to Die Hard? I think there's only 2 things I can say that are good about A Good Day to Die Hard. One of them is the title. Can't deny it. A Good Day to Die Hard is a great title, much better than Die Hard 5. And then the other, and I think the only other positive thing I can say about that movie is the shot at the end when the helicopter's crashing into the building, but Bruce Willis and his son are jumping out of the building, and Bruce Willis gives him the finger as he's going down. Yeah, those are probably the only two positives I could say about that. Stevie Dan, I like the first 3 Die Hards. Yeah, I mean, they're clearly the best, the top 3 of the Die Hards. Live Soft or Die Hard coming in my 2020. That seems like a bit of an innuendo. Or maybe it's a confession. Or is it therapy? Who knows? Right, let's jump back in here. What did we watch next after Die Hard with a Vengeance? That brings us quite recently to the movie I just did a review for and put on the channel yesterday or the day before, Rebellion Part 2, The Scargiver. It's not great. I kind of was lukewarm to the first one, hoping that the second one would be better and therefore make me think more fondly on the first one. However, yeah, Rebellion Part 2 is rubbish, which makes me think I was too kind with my review of Rebellion Part 1. Both reviews are on the channel. Rebellion Part 2 is the most recent video, I think, that I put up. So if anyone is interested what I thought about that, you can have a look at that. I'm not going to go into a review here because I literally just did that the other day. It's not good, sadly, folks. It is not good. And that leads us up to the last movie that we watched in April, which was Wonka. Now, oddly enough, what I've put in my Letterboxd review here is meh, too long, too many songs. I know it's a musical. However, in hindsight, I'm going to change that review because, wait, is that my review or is that someone else's review? I think that might be mine, but I've completely changed my tune on that because the kids absolutely loved Wonka. They saw it in the cinema. I think I said this on a different stream recently. The kids, they saw Wonka in the cinema, not with me. They loved it. They wanted to see it again. So I took them to see it again with very low expectations and absolutely loved it. So much so that I bought the steelbook. You can see it there. There. That's the steelbook for Wonka. It's one of the steelbooks. I think that's the worldwide art release. There was an Amazon exclusive release, which didn't look as cool. I think it was more like just a single shot of Wonka himself. It didn't quite look as good as that Wonka steelbook does. So yeah, we watched even though the kids had seen Wonka. Let me go back to this one. Even though the kids had seen Wonka at the cinema twice, I knew they loved it so much. Yeah, so that picture there, this picture here, is what the Amazon exclusive steelbook, that's what the cover for that is. And it's just not as good, I don't think. I might do a steelbook comparison on both of them because I did pick up both knowing that I would keep one and sell the other one. As I said, the kids absolutely loved it. I went in with really low expectations and came out quite enjoying it. As time went by, thought about it more, realised I liked it even more. And then when we watched it in the house a couple of weeks ago, not even a couple, maybe just a week ago or so, yeah, I absolutely loved it to the point where my 7-year-old and I know the Oompa Loompa song off by heart. We were literally practicing it earlier on, just before the bedtime routine today. Yeah, so if there was a talent show coming up, myself and the 7-year-old would absolutely be doing the Oompa Loompa song from the new Wonka movie. I'm not going to give a rendition just now, maybe on the next one. Yeah, I've gave it 3 out of 5 on Letterboxd there. In fact, I think I'm going to up that to 3.5 out of 5, so 7 out of 10. Giving Wonka 7 out of 10. Yeah, it's like the songs are infectious. It's, really enjoyable. And I think the fact that the kids, your kids enjoy it that much, that obviously leans into you enjoying it a lot as well. It's one of those ones where, you see your kids enjoying a movie so much that you can't help but enjoy it that little bit more because they're enjoying it, so that's nice. That's nice. I think, was that the last movie I watched in April? Yep, because then that takes us up to Fall Guy in May, but we'll save that for May's live stream, which will be in June sometime. So let's jump into the chat here before we wrap things up. Let's see, Yorkshire Geek, Wayne Grace doing his soft hard quips again. He's obsessed. Earlier it was Ubisoft and Ubisoft. Don't change the subject from Rebelman, your favourite franchise. Is it? Is it anyone's favourite franchise? You gave Rebelman 1 7 out of 10 and 2 6 out of 10. They're not great, but I think they're watchable. Yeah, I wouldn't go as high as that. I'm pretty sure I gave Rebelman 1 6 out of 10. I think I'd literally on my review there gave Rebelman 2 4 out of 10. I'll probably amend my review of Rebelman 1 and drop it to 5. I just didn't enjoy them as much as I was hoping to. I'm a big Zack Snyder fan. I like most of his movies, Rebelman, Sucker Punch being exceptions. I love what he did in the DC universe. I think Man of Steel is brilliant. I think Batman vs Superman is good. I think the extended cut of Batman vs Superman almost makes it a different movie. I was curious to see the extended cuts of Rebelman 1 and 2. I don't know if I'm going to bother with them, given that I didn't enjoy Rebelman Part 2 really at all, which is a shame. Yeah, I'll maybe just watch someone else's reviews of the extended cuts if and when that happens. The only Wonka film I've watched is the Gene Wilder one. Yeah, I mean, that's the classic one that everyone of a certain age knows and loves. The Johnny Depp one, the Tim Burton movie, it's just weird and not in a good way. But the recent one, the Timothée Chalamet one, is a good movie. Like I said, really enjoyed it. Kids really enjoyed it. Wonka was recommended by my sister, 7 out of 10 on the sleepometer. Does that mean you're giving the movie 7 out of 10, Stevie? Or does that mean there's a 7 out of 10 chance you'll fall asleep as you're watching it? We need clarification on your review scale, my man. Yorkshire Geek, admittedly, I've only watched them once. Maybe a rewatch would temper my enthusiasm for Rebelman. I would probably say don't bother watching them again. It's not something that I would say you have to suffer through. I would say if you're going to watch them again, at least wait for the direct. In fact, yeah, wait for them to drop the director's cut and then let us know what you think of them. That's probably the best idea. Sucker Punch is a great movie if you watch it with the music of your choice in the background. So it's a screen. Yeah, that makes sense. It's a screensaver, is what you're saying. Basically, Sucker Punch is a screensaver. I would say that's probably an accurate description. You nodded off twice. Oh, so it was so 7 out of 10 on the sleepometer means you fell asleep. You gave it a sleep score of 7 out of 10. Fair enough. Not everyone's bag. Interesting that you fell asleep during a musical, though. You know, it's not like, I wouldn't say it's a boring movie, Wonka. Like, I can see why people would fall asleep during things like Rebel Moon or Killers of the Flower Moon, even though I've not seen that yet. But, you know, I've heard it's really long. It's one of the things that's actually put me off watching Killers of the Flower Moon still to this day is I haven't managed to carve out 4 hours to watch it yet. I mean, Dune 2 would be an example of a long movie that I was close to falling asleep at times. So I can see why you would fall asleep during that. But then I'm sure everyone would say that, you know, you can't fall asleep during Dune 2 because it's big action set pieces and it's loud and da-da-da-da-da. But yeah, I could see myself falling asleep during Dune 2. Means it was a wee bit too long and I got bored. Yeah, as much as I did enjoy Wonka, I would say it could have done with being maybe 20 minutes shorter. I don't know where you would cut the 20 minutes from, but if I was to give it a criticism, which I think I did in my off-the-cuff letterbox review, I would say that it probably was, yeah, a little bit too long, I think. Yeah. Right. Okay, I think that's probably going to wrap things up, folks, for this month's Everything I Watched Last Month live stream. Again, thanks very much for everyone for tuning in. I think we've went just over an hour long here. Really appreciate everyone watching and tuning in and commenting. Let me know in the comments as well if there's anything that you've watched this month that you would recommend. And on that note, we will call it a day. I've been Jimmy, the Scottish Geek Guy. Thanks very much for watching, and I will catch you on the next video.